The reason why you get out of bed every day, I guess, it's just, you do it for your family, you do it for, for some satisfaction with what you do.
Welcome to the Business Behind Your Business, conversations to help your business grow and thrive. Hi, I'm Paul Sweeney, founder of Premium Solutions, Chartered Accountants and Certified Business Advisors, hosting the Business Behind Your Business. Okay, so welcome to the Business Behind Your Business podcast. And look, we are coming up to the 30th of September, which is International Podcast Day. And if you didn't know International Podcast Day existed, well, you won't be alone, but we're here to tell you it does. And what better way to celebrate International Podcast Day than to interview another business owner who's set up his own podcast. And it's quite an interesting story as to why the podcast and how it's different from the actual business that he runs. So we're joined today by Daniel Munday from...
Hey, Paul, how you going?
I'm good. It's good to see you. We can actually see each other, but we can't physically see each other at the moment. But, technology is great.
As good as it gets right now, isn't it?
It is. So, Daniel, your main business is DPM Performance. And do you want to just tell us a little bit about what DPM Performance is?
Yeah, it's one of those things that it's a personal training business, but the name, if I had my time again, 16 years later, it's something that I wouldn't run with now. Back in the day, I used to want to get involved. I was involved in rugby and all that sort of stuff and wanted to get involved with training athletes. But at the time, I was working in corporate health and I sort of figured, well, I've got a ready-made client base here looking for service and looking for stuff that wasn't being offered in the gym I was working at the time. And it seemed silly to throw all that potential clients and what I was already doing away to try and go down the rabbit hole of working with athletes and doing all that sort of stuff when there's enough people doing that anyway at the time. So I started a business off the back of the corporate health background, and 16 years later, here we are. Like now it's running through. We've gone through all different stages with my clients, and people were getting married and having babies, and now we're all 40 and 50 plus, and some a little bit older, and that's one of the that's the joys of doing what I do, is being able to help people, especially now, keep them active, even though we're doing it remotely or via Zoom, but giving people an outlet basically for exercise.
Yeah, and that's great. And I think a lot more people have been focused on that exercise or looking after their own health during this COVID situation. But I guess having to move from what is traditionally a very face-to-face way of delivering your service to moving into remote or video delivery, that must have been quite a change.
It's hard. Initially, we had a bit of experience last year with it. There was a few, speed humps you get over and you find out what works and what doesn't work, and for me, I'm going out in the car and doing my sessions at 20 to 6 in the morning for my first group now, so I don't wake up the house and don't want to wake up the kids or the wife, because I figure that's not worth the hassle, and I don't want to pay for that. But so look, we go out in the car and just sit in the car and do it. But it's basically you just learn as you go, and we're a lot better off now than what we were than if this had have happened 10 years ago or whatever, when there was no such thing as Zoom. I could do one-on-one Skype meetings, I think, at the time, video calls with people, but I don't think there was a way where we could really do group stuff.
Yeah, and I guess there was a lot of lag in those Skype sessions. I remember how often you'd hit wait, and then eventually the voice would come through, and maybe the video would come through, and they'd be out of sync, so it'd be very hard to deliver. So yeah, we are fortunate we can do that, and I think there's a bit more. Well, actually, there's a lot more acceptance, because I think we've been forced to accept a different way of doing things.
Yeah, I think now, especially I'm lucky in a way, because, well, for one, I can still do it. But the fact that my business is health-based and fitness-based, it's an outlet that people need right now. I know it's another time, another session they've got to spend on their computer, but at least they're actually physically doing something. And it's an outlet that we all need now. And especially, for, as you and I know both as parents, you've got a whole bunch of things on your plate anyway, and you need a clear head, so you're not coming home and taking out the frustrations, or switching the computer off and taking your frustrations out on the kids all the time. And so I just think for your own mental health, especially, as we record this, tomorrow is Are You OK Day, and there is a higher importance placed on mental health, luckily, at the moment. And And luckily, people are seeing it as a way to get an outlet, and that's, I think it's something we all need to focus on right now.
Mm-hmm. And I think that self-care for anybody in business is important, no matter what stage is. And like we're focusing, I guess, very heavily on COVID because that's what we're faced with at the moment. But I think that whole idea of self-care and looking after yourself as a business owner, because a lot of business owners don't have that network, they don't have that support network, and they'll pour a lot of their time and energy into the business. And then 10, 15, 20 years later, they've got some serious health problems because they haven't looked after themselves in that period. And when they're not looking after themselves, they're not looking after their family. They're also not looking after their business as well. So I think, has the catalyst of COVID helped with raising awareness of the need to look after yourself?
With the people that I work with, I think more it's just been, I'm lucky enough, a lot of my clients are long-term, been in business for a while. I guess a lot of my clients have been with me for 5+ years, 10+ years, some coming up to 15. So they already have known the importance of looking after themselves, and it's just normal part of their day for them. So I don't know whether from that regards they finally realise there's a chance to look after themselves. But I know in the general population, I just, you look out the window and there's more people walking past my front door than there used to be. Families going out for walks or people just going out for walks. I know that's just to, get outside the house, but they're still doing something.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess indirectly it probably has for a lot of people. If they weren't already doing something, it might have been a good, chance to, because you don't have that day-to-day incidental exercise that you normally would, whether you walk to the train station or you walk up to the office or you walk, a couple of blocks to get lunch or you go to a cafe for a coffee. Like people aren't doing that anymore because we're all at home. So I guess anything it's all going to add up. Yeah,
and look, I know that the days that I don't exercise and I spend more time sitting down in front of the computer, the days I actually feel more fatigued and probably less effective. And when you add a few of those end to end, all of a sudden you're quite tired, energy's low, tempers are fraying.
Yeah.
It's not a good situation. You've got to get outside and take advantage of it, move around and do some exercise. Even just walking around, that's got to be a start. So,
well, that's it. It doesn't matter what it is, just so long as someone's doing something. You just, if you're not used to doing anything, get outside and walk around the block. But for one to break up your day, especially if you're under the pump, just to clear your headspace, I just think you need that something to get away from everything right now and put focus on you. So you are looking after yourself.
Yeah. And like you mentioned that some of your clients have been with you for 15 years. So there's a bit of loyalty there. And that takes a lot of effort to build up. But I guess, the temptation would have been for a lot of customers and a lot of businesses just to say, well, hang on, we can't do anything. Let's just put this on hold until we come back from COVID. Obviously, that was a choice that you said, well, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to look at a different way of doing it. What are some of the things that you did with your customers to make sure that you held on to them during this period?
I think it's just, I think for one, just being able to adapt and provide the Zoom. But, like we said before, they need the exercise as an outlet as much as, you and I do. So, a lot of them are business owners themselves. And even those that aren't, they're all in high pressure jobs and they've all got 100 things to do each day. And I guess for me, I think it's just giving people what they want. It's that old saying, you give people what you want and then you give people what they want and you'll get what you want in the end. And I just think you come across as relatable and that you actually care about that you actually care about the client, that comes through. And they're more likely to stick around as well, because I saw a lot of people last year and even this year as well, when not a lot, but a couple that aren't, they're a bit old-fashioned and they're not into Zoom and all that sort of stuff, but they said, look, we're still happy to support you because we want your business to still be there at the end, which is appreciated.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that comes back down to the relationship that you're able to build with the people over the years before that.
So building those relationships has been key and I guess critical to maintaining your clients over such a period.
Oh, that's the only reason I'm still in business now. I don't claim to know everything, or maybe my 21-year-old self might have thought otherwise. But definitely now, the older you get, you realise you don't know it all. But just like I said, just actually caring about people and about the outcome, and not just being in it for me. I think that helps.
Yeah. No, good. Yeah, so, look, we mentioned at the beginning that that's International Podcast Day that we're recording this for. During this period, I discovered you and your podcast, the Small Business Dads podcast. What was the reason behind starting a podcast, and particularly one that seems, I guess, quite different to, I guess, the personal training and health and fitness?
Yeah, look, it was something. I do a little small fitness one on the side. Just every couple of weeks, I put out a 5-minute episode or whatever. Just basically, it's just another way to put content out from that one. As it was just recycling some content from my blog and my emails that I send out to my clients and people on my database. But with this one, it was an idea I had in the back of my head for a little while. At the start of last year, I think I said, I don't know. I don't know why. Something popped into my head, about business and, about dads and about doing something. And I don't know, I'm the type of bloke that I thought, I've got 100 things to do. I never really gave it much thought. But then when the first lockdown hit last year, I thought, okay, well, now's the chance to see what it's about. Because there's a lot of podcasts out there, as you know, but, a lot of business podcasts, there's parenting podcasts and all that. And I didn't really find anything that was able to build a personal connection with people. And it's hard, when you don't know someone, but then you're trying to get their story out in half an hour. But I don't know, I just felt like people, it's that old saying, you're more likely to do business with someone if you know them and if you like them and if you trust them. And I figured rather than just another podcast where someone's coming on and, which is basically an advertisement, I want to know a bit more about what makes someone tick. And I don't know, it was just an idea that, so I thought, well, we'll give it a go. And, as I think this morning I put out, I did the 64th, episode. So it's gradually just, in the space of 18 months, I guess, we've been able to knock out a few episodes.
Yeah, that's great.
Hopefully it's helped people.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I think most podcasts don't get past the 10th episode, so it's a great achievement. And look, having listened to the content that you've got on the Small Business Dads podcast, well, effectively, you've got dads who are business owners or running a business. And again, like you said, you're not just looking at their business skill, but you're looking at the story behind the person and making it, I guess, really approachable, but also your listeners can identify with who you're interviewing.
Well, that's what I hope. At the end of the day, I want to come across, and this is, I think we're lucky now. Times are different from, when we were kids and, our parents before us when, the dad went to work and, you'd see your kids on your weekend if you were lucky. And I know we had a lot of trouble to get to this place in the first place years and years ago. And I just thought if I ever, do become a dad, if I'm lucky enough to become a dad, I want to make the most. I don't want to be just a weekend dad. And so I made that. And, there was a story from me, my oldest now, she'll be 8 in January next year. But when she was born, there was times like, those days I was doing early morning sessions. I was working, lunchtime sessions during the day. And then I was doing evening sessions as well. There was days where I didn't see her. And there was a couple of days when I just thought, what am I doing it for? So it was more important for me to be a dad at the cost of my business, and sure, it's cost me a couple of dollars over the years, but at least now I've got a relationship with my kids now. And so that was part of the driving factor behind something like podcasts as well. Like putting, want to have a chat with other blokes that, that yes, they run a business, but it's not the only thing that drives them. So I wanted to make it come across as something that's personal and, and see if there's a market for it, basically. It was just basically throwing it up in the air and then seeing how it works. And, it's not the most successful podcast in the world, but we're still ticking away. And I enjoy having a chat with people and finding out more about them and just, and giving blokes an outlet where they can be heard. And it's a small little way that they can pump their business. And, hopefully, indirectly, one way or another, it might lead to someone hearing it at one point or another when they think, okay, I resonate with this bloke, and that might be someone that I might want to look into using their services down there.
Yeah, you touched on it. Like, as a business owner, you do business with people. You don't just do business with business. You do business with people, yeah. and helping people actually learn about who's in the network or who's in the community that runs a business. And they're not just a face. They're not just a guy out there spruiking their business, but they're a real person. There's a real story behind them. And I think Look, my awareness of some of the guys in our community. So we're from the same community, the Hills community in Sydney, and my awareness of some of the people that are running, or some of the dads particularly that are running businesses, has grown from listening to your podcast, because there's guys on there that I have not met, have not interacted with, but all of a sudden I know, hey, this is the guy I need to go to because I know he does this, and this is why I'm going to trust him, because I know a bit more about him.
Yeah, that's the whole point of it, really, isn't it? Because the world's big enough these days that you don't know everyone in it, even in your community, obviously. And people, these days are all busy with their own lives. But if it gives some way, I want to know. So I want people to share their story, basically, and it's fun to do. You find out a bit some about what makes them tick, but also about what they do, of course. Which, like you said, because you don't know when you're going to need that product. Whether it's a plumber and your hot water system goes, or your accountant, if you're not happy with your one that that you're working with now, and as it's just, I don't know, the possibilities are endless with all the different types of people that we can have on, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, one of the things that's really been beneficial for me, and I know that you've found this as well, because I've picked up on some of your responses in the interviews, is that the people you're interviewing, you actually learn a lot from them yourself, which you can apply to your own business. And
yes.
I've often hit stop on the recording and walked away going, right, now, okay, from that I need to do these three things, because I'm not doing them in my business and they should be done. So all of a sudden I've had a half-hour conversation with somebody, but I've walked away with three absolute gems of things to do, and sharing that with other people. But I know that I can't do everything. So if I'm going to need more help with that, I know who to go to now. So
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So what are some of the things you've learned from 64 episodes? What have you picked up?
Well, I think it's awesome. Well, like we said, over and over again, just hearing someone share their story is pretty cool. But the main thing, like, you're not alone. It can be, like, I'm a sole trader. It's, I work by myself. I'm used to that. But, like we said, 16 years coming up in October. But you're not the only one that goes through the small issues, and not everyone's flying. Not everyone's making millions and millions of dollars, and that's fine. Everyone's just doing their best. But, there's hard parts. No matter what stage or size your business is, there's going to be hard parts. There's going to be days. There's going to be good days. There's going to be bad days. Celebrate your wins and, learn from your losses, I guess, and setbacks. I've had plenty in my career. There's stuff that I wouldn't do again. But I just think, that old question that I always ask, and that I asked you, that, what would you tell your younger self? That's always an interesting thing too, because going back to what you would say back in the day is something that, you obviously can't go back and do, but it's pretty cool to find out, what you would go and tell your younger self. It's just a confirmation, I guess, that it's all that the thing you want to, like, the reason why you get out of bed every day, I guess. It's just, you do it for your family. You do it for, for some satisfaction with what you do. And, I love getting out of bed, and, I love being able to help people. And it's nice to meet other people that are like that as well.
So has there been any particular, I guess, conversations you've had where it's been like groundbreaking for you? It's been one of those aha moments where you've said, all right, this is going to change how I do things?
Well, I think for me, it's more realization that, okay, look, I don't have to do what everyone else does. And everyone's got their own way of doing things. I'm pretty set in my ways now, I guess. But I don't know. It's more reassurance, I guess, that, you're hearing stuff like what you said in your episode. You mentioned just reinforcing the importance of looking after yourself, and that you're a better dad when you do that. It makes you more effective at running your business. And I don't know, it's more just a reassurance of things, that you hear things over and over again. And I guess that you're doing okay, and, like, you're going to have good days as a dad, you have bad days as a dad, and it's nice to know that you're not the only one that might get frustrated, or with your kids or whatever sometimes. And I don't know, it's hard to say, but I think it's just a reassurance overall that, you're doing your best. And and like I say, it just shows you care about your kids, I guess, that if you keep, I don't know, we're all going to stuff up at one point or another, but you just keep turning up, and you keep having a go. So it's probably a long-winded answer, but it's probably a long way to get to the point. But
yeah, and I think, look, as a sole a sole operator or the key person in a business, that it can be quite lonely at times, and sometimes when you do have those hard days, it can be tough. So knowing that other people have had hard days, they've had tough circumstances, and they've got through that, you're not alone in the community.
Yep.
And you mentioned the Are You OK Day, and there's a bit more awareness about that traditionally males didn't open up, wouldn't communicate when there was an issue, and we bottled it up. But I think now there's a bit more awareness, or a lot more awareness and a lot more support, that things don't always go exactly as we plan, but there are ways that we can move out of it, and we can get support for those things.
No, totally. And I think it's more acceptable now to reach out for support. And I think, what's the stat? Is it something like 1 in 5 people, I think it might be, at some point in their life or another, is going to have some type of a mental illness. So, like, it's not as if it's just, some person that you never hear about. The chances are, like, if it's not you, it's going to be someone you're pretty close, like 1 in 5. And like, we can't have blokes killing themselves, or, like anyone, can't have anyone, like, women as well, of course, kids. That's not, the main thing that, especially when you're a parent, is, that you got to be there for your kids. And if something's not right, you got to do something about it before it's too late.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and look, there's plenty of places that you can get help. You mentioned Are You OK? And I think we've got Lifeline and
Beyond Blue's another one.
Beyond Blue's
Black Dog Institute, I think.
So there's plenty of resources out there. And look, if you are struggling with business, then or anything like that, I encourage you to reach out to one of those, and we'll put the links to those sites in the notes. But look, as a business owner, you're not alone, and what you've shown, Daniel, through the Small Business Dads podcast, is that there's a lot of guys out there running businesses and running and being dads, and working through some of the issues that are going to come up in running a business.
Yeah, that's right.
There are a way through it.
Yeah, there always is. And, like at the end of the day, we're all going to have a bad day at one point or another. I think there was one, I can't remember what episode it was, but there was one episode I did recently, and he just said, like, have a bad moment. Actually, it was David Lindsay, who said, have a bad moment, not a bad day. Like, accept it for what it is. And going back to your other question, that's probably another good take-home point, that I learned moving forward is, things don't always go to plan. You're going to have a bad day, or you're going to have a bad part of a day, but it's like David's point was to try and make it a bad moment rather than say, okay, this has gone wrong, well, today's a write-off. Okay, this has gone wrong. Okay, it is what it is. Accept it. Then move on. Do what you got to do if you can't solve the problem, then walk away, do whatever you got to do, but then just realize it's a bad moment. It's not necessarily a bad day. So I had to stop myself in my tracks there, because I was saying everyone has a bad day. But coming back to that point, it doesn't always have to be a bad day. So that's probably a big take-home point there as well. Yeah,
absolutely. That's great advice. And look, you've spoken with a lot of guys that have got some great experience to share. So if somebody wants to listen to the Small Business Dads podcast, where do they go? Where's the best place?
Well, look, Apple, Spotify, Google, whichever. Like basically anywhere where you listen to a podcast, iHeartRadio, all those sort of options, they're all up on there. But there is a website, smallbusinessdads.com.au, that's got the link to each of the episodes. But it also has a little bit of a profile on each of the blokes as well, and and a bit of a bio on their background, and a link to their business as well to help promote. And like we said, the whole point of the show is just to have dads having a chat. And there was a guest early on, Jason, who I had, and I didn't know him from a bar of soap, and he runs an awesome charity business, Super Tea. And he said afterwards, after we stopped recording, it was just like two blokes having a beer. And that was the whole point behind it initially. And it was nice that was coming across, that it's just, I don't want it to be too formal, and I'm not the most polished bloke around, as you've noticed from this chat today. But it's just, I just want it to come across as two blokes having a chat, and we just come across as relatable, and no one. So I guess you're going to be drawn to it if you're the type of person that's open and to that type of thing, and you're not up yourself, so to speak, and you're a bit down to earth, and you're going to be drawn. You're going to be this type of guest for the podcast, and you're going to be more drawn to listening to it too, I guess.
Mm. Yeah, I certainly would recommend it, and have
Thank
recommended
you.
it to other people, because I think we do get hung up on these, I guess, the success pedestals that we see a lot of people promoted on, and there's some very real stories of successful business owners and dads that have gone through some of these issues. So it's great to have that resource available, and thanks for putting that together, because it's been really good to listen to and hear some of the stories, and it's fantastic. So wanting to know how we can, how could somebody help your business? So how could they get in touch with you to get help with looking after themselves?
Sure. Well, so basically, I specialise, like we said earlier, in personal training. I do group training as well when we're allowed in person. But so mainly these days, it's 40 plus people. So like 40 plus parents is what I normally target. But not everyone is a parent, and they're not excluded. But yeah, normally, and we're a better fit these days for people that are over 40. There's all types of stuff you can do, for the younger generation. But the thing I know from years of playing football and doing all that type of stuff, my body's all broken and battered now from everything that I did when I misused it when I was younger. So, and a lot of my clients are like that too. They're like we said earlier, they're 40, 50, 60, and they're paying for stuff they did when they were younger. So it's tailored for our age. Doesn't mean it's a charity workout, so to speak, but I'm not the type of person that wants to flog people to their spew. So I just want to have an effective health outcome, basically. But they can find me. DPM Transformation is my website, or Daniel at dpmtransformation.com is where they can find me. And, I do sessions. Well, all my stuff mainly used to be back in the good old days was around the Sydney CBD and inner west when we were allowed to see people. But these days, it's pretty much remote. So we can do basically anywhere now, I guess. That's the beauty. I've had clients, the one good thing with COVID, I've had clients, for old clients who've moved away, that have been able to join in and do our Zoom stuff. So that was pretty cool.
Great. Fantastic. So look, we'll put links to Daniel's business and how you can get in contact with him in the show notes, and how you can get in touch to do one of his Zoom sessions, because I'm sure it's worthwhile. And as somebody that is in that 40 to 50 year age bracket, I know that I certainly can't keep up with some of the fitness regimes designed for the much younger. And
no,
I certainly can't do what I can't do what I used to do when I was a 15-year-old, which my kids keep reminding me of. So.
Not many of us can.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's just about doing something that's smart, and it doesn't matter what it is, whether it's stuff, that I do, or whether it's something the exact opposite of what I normally do. Just so long as people are doing something, that's the main thing, because you're going to feel better. No one ever says they feel worse after a workout.
Yeah, absolutely. So some great advice, great story behind the business, and it's great to have a chat with you again. It's been good, and looking forward to hearing some more episodes on your podcast with some of the local business dads, and looking forward to it. So, look, we get questions from time to time about why set up a podcast and why you would do it, and how hard is it? And look, as you and I have found it, there's a bit of work involved, but you can get started with just a microphone and a computer.
Yep.
So we're going to put a bit of behind the scenes on our website about how we've actually put our show together and what tools we use, and also where we started, because we started very differently to where we're at now. Just to take away some of the myth and the confusion around it. Yeah, it's a good thing to do.
It is, yeah.
I know we've both enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's a bit of fun, and if I can do it, anyone can. You don't have to be the sharpest tool in the shed, that's for sure.
Yeah. I guess the other thing is that people say to you, well, how does it actually help your business? And I think what the key thing is the awareness of who you are.
Yep.
And that people can trust you. And because, as I said before, people do business with people. And it's good to know people that you can do business with. And, podcasting is one way of getting the news out to people, spreading the word and sharing some great content.
It's also a way to give back to people too, it's... Like you said initially, there's no direct link for me, for the fitness business to do this Small Dads podcast, but the Small Business Dads podcast. But it's it's like giving back to the community, I guess. A bit of karma, whatever you want to call it, paying it forward. But it's just you do the right thing by people, and hopefully directly or indirectly down the track, it might come back to you.
Absolutely.
As you're doing with this.
Yeah. Well, that's the aim. The aim is to help people, and look, if we can get the message out and we help 10 business owners or 20 business owners, or look, we'd love to say hundreds and thousands, but the reality of it is if we can get the message out to help 10 people, then we've achieved what we set out to do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's all.
So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Paul.
Daniel.
I appreciate the opportunity. It's been weird being on this side of the mic. As you can probably tell, I'm more comfortable asking questions than answering them.
It's a bit of a change. Sometimes I've been in that situation and I've thought, oh, okay, no, I've got to think of the answers now.
Exactly. You have to
just
go
asking
back and actually do some prep. I have to think about a couple of things.
Yeah. No, that's good. Great to have you, and thanks again.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
Thanks for listening. Do you have a question you'd like our team of experts to answer? If you do, send your question to podcast@thebusinessbehindyourbusiness.com. To hear more from The Business Behind Your Business, don't forget to subscribe using your favourite podcast player. Or you can visit the businessbehindyourbusiness.com website.